welcome to the round 17 preview. It's Collingwood week. Carlton, Collingwood, MCG, Friday night footy, 7:20 p.m. on the hallowed turf. It's meant to be exciting, but for some reason I just have that tense feeling about this week. Bit of time's gone past since the last game. It was an awful effort. It's been an awful couple of weeks. It's been a pretty awful season. And the reality is there's 8 games to go, and we're just going to take it one game at a time. And, who knows what to even try and expect at this point moving forward. I mean, the expectation is some spirit, pride, and the intangible energy within the group. You know, even though that might frustrate some if it is there, because it's going to be, there'll be questions about, where's it been? But, I mean, at the end of the day, talking about, buy-in and sticking fat and, phrases of the like, there's just no better game to find some buy-in from a supporter base than ramping it up against Collingwood, who are the best team in the competition at the moment. I think if we looked at it right in this moment, I think it's fair to say Collingwood's the best team in the comp and Carlton is probably the worst team in the comp. Like over the last couple of weeks, if we're not the worst team in the comp, I hate to say bottom 4, but like it's the truth. Like right now as it stands, best team in the comp and a bottom couple teams in the comp. That's just the form line going in. So it doesn't look great. I'm not very confident. I'm kind of bracing a little bit, if I'm honest, because it's more around the characteristics that I'm seeing within the team. Just that lack of desire, and the fight and the spirit. There was the outspilling and the outpouring of the wrath from the supporter base. I mean, I'm going to assume that it was a supporter that did the spray paint. Could have been anyone. There's so many theories out there. But, I mean, when we start seeing acts of protest sort of spill out and messages getting sent in different ways sort of spill out, I think that's when it gets to its worst. I mean, there's the best of the fan base, the raw on game day and the semi-final and the MCG shaking from the passion. And then there's the worst of it, which is, mid-2023 against the Bombers and, spray paint on the walls and vandalism and things like that. And it's not great. And, I think we're all hoping for some sort of a line in the sand to be drawn, like at some point, so we can move forward. Like, do we have more gears to fall into before the year ends? Maybe. And that's where I'm a bit fearful. I'm kind of bracing for anything. I don't think a win will change anything other than maybe just a little bit of a relief for a week. But we're entering a really tough stretch. This week, well, there was, I guess, a line in the sand drawn symbolically, I guess. Spoke to the president of the footy club, which came as a pleasant surprise given the noise was starting to rattle. Talks about the board and talks about, no confidence and, lacking confidence and you can interpret the interview however you like. I don't think anything that Rob said is what is or was going to fix anything. I think the fact that he was willing to sit there uncomfortable, it would have been uncomfortable for him. It was uncomfortable for me. It was very much an impromptu conversation and I wasn't really prepared, but in a way I was. And I think at the end of the day, it just represents, okay, like we're in the shit and he's still willing to sit down and sort of hear it. I mean, he's heard it and read it for however long he's been in the chair and before that. So I do think there may have been something in that just as a message of okay, we hear you. We are acting on it and we'll do what we can to fix it. And that's the bottom line. So, we know that Graham Wright, we know that the date has now been set for when he will take over. So who knows? Maybe hopefully it's a baby step forward for more dialogue, and that is ultimately the intention for me. I'm critical. I'm devastated. I'm jaded. I'm broken. I'm really pissed off about the constant, seemingly deception. That's what it feels like at times, to get on board with something and then it continue to break down, and then be told to continue to show up. Like it's annoying, but at some point there's got to be a line in the sand drawn, and we move forward and hopefully find the solution and hopefully turn the ship around. So yeah, it was a privilege to chat with the president, and again, it's not the be all and end all, but I think it is a symbolic step in the right direction. And I think more of it needs to happen. And I think hopefully it opens doors for more conversations, not just with the president, but just with the club. The link between the club and the fans, that's one of the most important, if not the most important bridge that we can gap here. So there was that. And then there's going to be Friday night. Adam Saad won't play this week, as he entered concussion protocols. Jack Silvani, I don't know if Jack's going to play. I was at training on Monday. I actually met Mitch Cleary for the first time. Shout out to Mitch. We've spoken, online before, but we've never actually met. And he ran with the story about Jack Silvani and the groin soreness. So I'm filming this Tuesday morning. By the time you're watching this, there will probably be an injury report out there. We'll see if Jack gets up. I've heard mixed reports that he's going to miss this week. I've heard reports that he's going to miss the season. We'll just see how that goes. That would be a big loss, and make no mistake about that. And we'll be up against it on Friday, and we are very much not favoured to win the game on Friday. But at the end of the day, it's Collingwood. So it's Carlton Collingwood. The club lent into the rivalry against the Bombers not long ago, and the rhetoric and the messaging and the captions, they really lent into it. And I know that there was a bit of frustration after that win because it should have been more. Like, it should have been more, sure, but they still lent into it. I'd like to see the footy club lean into it again this week. I'd like to see the players lean into it this week. And I mean, what does that really mean? Don't just start fights on the field, but play with some passion, play with some purpose. Win the game. That's how you spark something. I miss it. I miss the energy. I miss the Carlton Raw. I said this before the North Melbourne game, the last rally of hope. I think Geelong was the last time I really felt that Raw. Like, we haven't really felt the Raw this year, like, at all. It hasn't ignited it. It hasn't really ever had a chance to properly ignite. And I miss it. And I don't know if we're going to get it for the rest of this year. I don't know. And, are we going to go a whole year without the Raw, like, properly? That's a bit disappointing. That's a lot disappointing, not a bit. So, yeah, I think as a supporter, all you really want to see is some spirit and some pride. And, the Pies, yeah, they have the full respect of really the AFL at this point, and anything can happen in footy. Carlton can win the game. They probably won't, but they can. Any team can beat any team on any given day. When I see the characteristics of that brokenness with the Carlton team, it's just really hard to see any possibility of beating the Pies. I can see a fight, a spirited fight, but beating them is a different proposition altogether. And the reality is I haven't seen us beat the Pies a lot in my life, to be honest, which is, I don't know, another story for another day. So, yeah, really, a really tough week, a really tough couple of weeks for Carlton people. We are all hurting and just repeating the same old. And it's quite fascinating that we've got 8 weeks to go. And like, are we just going to continue to talk like this for 8 weeks? Will there be no circuit breaker? Will there be no line in the sand? Will there be no spirited awakening? Will there be nothing? Will we just continue to walk down these stairs and continue to walk down the stairs without turning around and walking back up them? it's becoming a really interesting watch. And so, yeah, everyone's on high alert. And, we'll go from there. So what about you? How are you feeling about this Collingwood game? It's supposed to be exciting. I mean, it kind of is exciting, but it's also very much not. It's Collingwood. It's the rivalry. It's, I say that, and then in my head I think, well, mate, what are you doing? What are you saying? What does that even mean? What does the rivalry mean? So, I don't know. Where are you at with round 17? Will you be going? Because it was talked about this being a sellout. I struggle to see 80,000 plus people there at the MCG Friday night. I do. Would love to be wrong. Would love 85,000 people on Friday night and a roar and the atmosphere. But I don't know. I've noticed quite a few people drop off and offer their tickets up. So we might give away some tickets on the team's show on Thursday. For those who want to attend or who can't attend and want to attend, we might be able to help you out. And we'll go from there. So I'll gather your thoughts in the comments and go from there. Go Blues.